feel we need to clean house, and not just in our community, I think as a country, has to do with the millennials. There are a lot of stereotypes, very blanketed stereotypes about them being lazy, just a lot of negative connotations that come along with it. And I know you do a lot of work with young people. What are your thoughts on that?
Here's my take. I think we forget how talented young people really are. Like, you think about, like, use of technology is the first thing that comes to mind. When you have, like, little kids that are, like, doing video shoots and whatnot, like, here's some things we got to understand about younger people. Number one, they have talents and abilities. Our job is to help them align those talents and abilities with something that they can constructively do. It's about, access to resources,
Right.
And giving people a chance like other people gave you a chance. We also have to understand that the way that we did things, it might not always fit the way that they're going to do it. And it's almost like, here's a good analogy. It's like if you sit in a classroom, especially if it's, and I hate to single them out, but if it's like an older veteran teacher or even a younger teacher, they're going to instruct based on the way that they learned.
Right.
Now, is there anything inherently wrong with that? No. The problem is the 20, 25, 30, 35 kids in that classroom aren't going to all learn the same way. Just as you look at learning styles and learning preferences, you have to be open to doing a little bit of everything. So that means you can start off with a lecture to introduce and maybe do a lecture to conclude. But in the meantime, you have to be open to using video or small groups or vignettes or what have you, because that way you're doing a better job of casting a wider net.
Right.
Well, it's the same principle with young people. There's some truth that there's some degree of laziness, but that's everybody.
I was like, that's everybody.
I think we've got to understand that with the advent of technology and a couple other things, and the fact that young people are going to do things differently from how we do them. It doesn't make it right, it doesn't make it wrong. Sometimes what they do is more efficient than what we do, and we've got to be open to giving them a platform to go ahead and explore and develop those skill sets and figure it out. So if someone's great with using video and technology, we should push them in communications. We really should. Or if someone's involved in, interested in music, even on the entertainment end, encourage them to take at least an accounting class or something along those lines. So maybe they won't get taken advantage of as much when they're outsourcing it. No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
That they're not taking
Learn about
advantage
the law.
Yeah, no. So we've got to be open. But the same criticism we have of young people are probably the same criticism people had when we were young.
I don't remember it being like it is now, and I don't know if that's because we didn't have social media.
I think
then.
it's just because I think social media is a gift and a curse. It's a gift because you're able to do things easier and quicker, but it's also a curse because you see things easier and quicker.
Yeah.
I think, like, growing up in our day, you were like, it was like you still had the labeling, you still had the fringe elements, but I think what happens is it was kind of limited to, like, your neighborhood. You didn't see it other than in your community, like the area where you grew up or went to school.
Right.
Now it's like you can see it in mass. Like, think about how on social media you can have a chat with somebody that's living in another state or another country.
Yeah.
Even video that's uploaded,
Yeah.
you can see it just about anywhere now, especially if it goes viral, and especially if it gets that type of traction. So I think because we're seeing things in a higher volume, in a higher traction, it's like now all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But I kind of have to agree. Some of those same issues have always been there. We just didn't see them as frequently.
Yeah,
because it was just so limited.
Yeah, and I feel I've been doing some work with some millennials, and the viewpoint, they come at things from a totally different perspective. And it's because of their point of reference. What's relative to them is the internet, is, the tablets and everything else. So when there's an issue, when they come to address the issue, a lot of times we have to let go of our ego. Mm-hmm. We don't want a younger person to seem smarter than us or more than us.
Yeah, that's true.
And sometimes you have to just set that aside, leave your ego at the door, and ask them. They call it red teaming. When you come in and you poke holes and stuff. If you have a brilliant idea or a good idea or something you're trying to do, share it with a young person and watch what they do with it.
Young people will go in directions that you will never imagine.
Yes.
And you have to be open to that. It's just like they know people you don't know. And because there's more younger people than there are older people, and you're trying to bridge and bring people together. I mean, that's huge. You
Yeah.
think about, like, even with press and media, you've got to realize that, yeah, social media in general allows you to capture people that you know, but there's a whole universe of people out there that you don't know. So you still have to utilize your traditional means of television, not so much newspapers, since most stuff is
Right.
online now, radio, and things of that nature, because that's an audience out there that you don't know that maybe needs to hear of what you're working on, what you're doing, what services you provide, things along those lines. So you have to be open. They say you got to be open and at least listen to what someone has to say. You don't necessarily have to agree with it, but listen to what they have to say so you know where they're coming from.
Right.
And now I know where you're coming from, we can do a better job of figuring out where do we overlap, where do we meet, and go from there and just
Yeah.
have some more fun with it.
Now, one of the things that I've noticed with the younger generation is their focus is on saving money, doing things, and I hate saying the right way, right? The way because a lot of them have kind of come out of school during the recession, and they've seen their parents get beat up with their finances.
Right.
They've seen, the housing market crash. They've come out and they weren't able to get a job, right? So a lot of them now are saving money. They're concerned about their future. They're concerned about things in their 20s that, we weren't thinking about till we were in our 40s,
yeah.
right? So when I'm looking at this group of young people, and I even have some as clients, and I'm thinking, man, if I had the forethought or to think the way you're thinking now, I would be in such a different place.
Right.
So it's very, I have confidence in the younger generation. I think they're not going to stand for a lot of stuff. I think they're going to be a lot more vocal, and they'll figure out how to utilize the power that they have.
I agree. Like, we forget how savvy young people really are. We assume youth comes with, youth experience or expertise. And no, there are more young people that are a lot more in tune than what you think. You have to take time to talk with and listen to them. And with the ability that they have to utilize their different platforms, understanding the power of their platforms, the potential that they have is like ridiculous. Like, seriously, they can potentially be some of those major game changers.
Right.